Okay, always seeking to improve. Always striving to be a bit better in my character, in my approach, embodying the ultimate commandment, which is love Yahuwah, the Most High, He who breathes life, He who brings into existence, He who creates, and to love our fellow man as we love ourselves, to nurture our fellow man as we nurture ourselves. So in looking to nurture my character and improve my character and strengthen my character, my ethics, my morality, my ethos, such that I can live as an example and nurture my fellow man, encourage them, build them up, and just not through preaching, not through admonishing, not through berating, but just by living the example. Living the example. And you'd be surprised how much simply living that example other people will pick up and look to emulate, look to mirror, look to build a better life on your example. Especially being righteous in Yahusha, the Son of the Most High, the perfect Lamb of the Most High, Yahusha, He who saves, He who delivers, He who redeems. Living in Yahusha HaMashiach, the Messiah, they see you've turned over a new leaf. They see we're filled with a light and an encouragement and a motivation and inspiration, and we are alive, truly alive for the first time in our life. Before, our hearts were made of stone. We were all about being clever and crafty and aggressive and pushing and dominating and controlling and manipulating circumstances, environments, people in a desperate attempt to wrestle and bend outcomes to our will, results to our will, but ever frustrated, ever running up against a wall, ever empty in our accomplishments. And though we push through those walls, we smash through those walls, and we run over everything in our path and all in our path to climb the mountain and get to the peak and claim power and dominion over all things, we still, even after all of that, even after absolutely scratching, clawing, and cannibalizing and tearing ourselves to pieces to get to that supreme target, that goal, and then we get there, and then it's, now what? Because it's never enough, because we're never satisfied, because we're never fulfilled, we're never gratified, ever, 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 ever. No matter how much we search, no matter how much we accomplish, no matter how much we gain, when we are not in Yahuwah, Yahusha, when our hearts are not filled with His love, His healing, and His salvation, we're ever bereft, we're ever empty, we're ever wondering, we're ever questioning, wherever every time we get to unlock one door, there's another door closed before us, constantly, and it just never ends. Every goal we achieve, it's more goals. It's never enough. And we always wonder why. Why are we frustrated? Why are we anxious? Why are we neurotic? Why are we never happy? What are the answers? What is the purpose of my life? What is we're always searching for meaning. Always searching for meaning, such that we go to the ends of the earth looking for yogis, magi, illusionists, wise men, holy men, rabbis, priests, so-called fathers. There is no father except for the Father, Abba, the Most High, the Supreme Elohim, Yahuwah. Anyone who calls himself a father, there's only one Father. Only one can be called Father. I'm not talking about your dad. I'm talking about the Supreme Elohim, the Most High. He who brings into existence, He who breathes life, He who creates. And so, when your heart and your soul is in Yahuwah Yahushua, and we talked over the last couple of days about aligning everything, the heart the mind, right? The heart's intent with the mind's concepts and ideas, with the language that we use and the lexicon, and then the actions that we take in the path that we walk, lining all things up, starting with that strong foundation, the heart, the soul, filled with Yahuwah and Yahusha's love, filled with that commandment from which all good things spring, which is love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your fellow man as you love yourself. And from there, everything is aligned, everything, because you have a strong foundation, you have a strong heart filled with Yahuwah, Yahusha, and the commandment of which all productivity, all wholesomeness, all prosperity springs, because it's true, it's honest, it has integrity and credibility. It has the word, the way, the truth, and the life. And so everything can be aligned on that solid structure. It cannot fall. It cannot fall when it's erected on that kind of structure, that solid, concrete, unmovable structure of Yahuwah Yahusha. And so every single day, every single week, every single month, spending the time to ruminate, contemplate, meditate, and ponder His words, His way, His truth, His life, the meaning of it all, deep, deep, deep in prayer, deep into pulling apart what it all means, and having it delivered again and again, the revelations, the epiphanies, the instructions, the blueprint, in the conversations, in the connection, in tapping into the signal of Yahusha. All is revealed, all is received, so much that your cup runneth over. You have more than you ever imagined, more love, more healing, more inspiration, more motivation, more encouragement than you could ever have. You're alive, as I said, you're alive, truly alive, because you've been reborn. So for the first time in your life, you feel it, you're not the walking dead anymore, you're not wandering aimlessly anymore. Now you have purpose, now you're driven by true meaning in Yahuwah Yahusha. And so in those moments, in prayer and contemplation, nourishing the heart, nourishing the soul, making it stronger with His word, with His way, with His truth, with His life, filling up on that, you're building a character. You're building a persona that is worthy of Yahuwah Yahusha, that is worthy, because you're living as His example. You're working to live as an example for your people, so you can love your fellow man as you love yourself as you love your fellow man, right? It's a circle. And then, of course, love Yahuwah of all things. That's the fount. Love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, from which all these other things can spring. And so, in talking about building that character, we've talked about removing all dishonesty, all deceit, all lies from our lives, only walking in truth, speaking truth, credibility, integrity. We talked about, and so again, subtraction by addition. Right? We've talked about that. We don't eliminate these things by eliminating them. We eliminate these bad habits, these evil characteristics, these sinful elements of our persona, by crowding them out. Right? We crowd them out with the good things. So when we talk about removing dishonesty and deceit and lies from our life, it's because we're adding truthfulness to our life, credibility and integrity to our life. And that's how we act, that's how we talk, that's how we move. We talk about removing all complaining, whinging, and whining and moaning from our life. How do we do that? By being grateful and thankful. We've talked about that, right? We crowd out the whining and the moaning by always being grateful and thankful. We crowd out negative talk. We crowd out negative talk, talking negatively in a negative manner. How? By speaking words of praise and encouragement, by speaking words of motivation and inspiration, by speaking from a place of positive energy, not negative energy. Right? So all of that, all of these things, we crowd them out. We move them out by adding the positive attributes, the opposites of these things, the opposite of being distrustful, being deceitful, the opposite of being a moaner and a whiner and a complainer, the opposite of being negative. We crowd them all out with the positive attributes. And there's another important one, and I've talked about others as well, but today I want to talk about another really contemptuous ingredient, another another really, really negative aspect of human nature, which is this drive to gossip about people. That is something that is really surreptitious. This is a sneaky, evil characteristic and personality trait that people have, because we all find ourselves doing it. We all participate in gossip. What is gossip? Right? Rumor-mongering. Rumor-mongering. Speaking about the mistakes and the imperfections and the fallibility and the tragedies of others. This is why we get caught up watching TV series. This is why we get caught up watching the news. This is why we get caught up on our feeds, on our social media feeds. Look at what the most of it is all about. A lot of it, if your algorithm isn't right on social media, you're getting constant negativity, bad news. You're constantly getting the worst of humanity shown before you on the social media feeds, because that's what attracts the most eyeballs, and that's what our base lizard-like brain, that's what that's what the evil inside all of us is magnetized to, because there's no doubt about it, we have an evil nature. We are weak and we are vulnerable to the evil ones of this world, the psychic vampires, the negative influencers, the haters, the detractors, the corruptors, the misleaders, the deceivers, Lucifer, Satan, Hashatan, the devil. They all have their way with us on this planet because he is the Lord. The father of lies is the Lord of this planet. The Lord of the flies, as he is known, Hashatan, who revels, and all his minions revel and are joyous in your destruction by fooling you and deceiving you and persuading you and influencing you to participate in hedonism, in pleasure seeking, in gluttony, and in gossip. And what do these things do? All of these temptations, indulgences, all of this depravement and defilement and debasement, it's you thinking you're having a good time, thinking you're having fun, thinking it's cheap thrills, cheap highs, cheap titillation, which serves nothing but to stoke your pleasure in the moment at the most evil of things, the most sinister of things, but slowly, like 1,000 paper cuts, bleeding you of your better nature, bleeding you over time until you're bereft, you're left alone, you're broken, and you are wanting and longing and hungering to the point where you can't take it anymore and you're hopeless, breaking you down for their pleasure, because misery loves company. Whilst Yahusha, the Son of the Most High, suffered the worst torment, the worst tortures, the worst pain, the worst suffering, the weight, the unbearable weight of all of our sins, the unbearable weight, the wrath, the fury of Yahuwah poured out onto him when it should have been poured out onto us, having deemed us worthy, having seen in us something we've never seen in ourselves, having decided to pay a debt that we can never pay, so we not only could live and not be wiped out by Yahuwah, but to have everlasting life should we receive him, should we follow his commandment, should we have faith in him. Should we love Yahweh with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength? And should we love our fellow men as we love ourselves? Saved through faith alone, should we receive his sacrifice? Should we believe in him? Should we put our faith in him? And should we do that, we are saved through his final and ultimate sacrifice, bearing the suffering of sufferings. Our heart is filled. But the evil ones of this world, they want us to soak ourselves in drink, to soak ourselves in drugs, to soak ourselves in gossip, to soak ourselves in jealousy and envy and hatred, and absolutely bury ourselves in the muck and the mire and the sludge of this illusion, such that there's no way out. And then what do we do? What do we do? We get to the ends of our rope. You get to the end of your rope and you're broken, and they love it because you sacrifice your heart, your soul, your salvation so that they can live. Everyone that they bleed dry brings them more joy. Whilst, think about this, Yahusha sacrifices everything, all pain and all suffering, his life handed over so that we could know the Father once and forever, so that we could have forgiveness, so that we could enter the kingdom of Yahuwah, and so that we could truly know the Father once again, ever since we were cast out of paradise, cast out of Eden. For the first time we were ever vulnerable, the first time we were ever jealous, for the first time we were ever envious, for the first time we were ever greedy, we were led by the serpent, and in eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge in some fantasy that we could be like Yahuwah. That was the temptation. And in taking that bite, in eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge, we knew good and we knew evil, and we were cast out once and forever to roam this earth by the sweat of our brow, falling into the trap of clawing, scratching, cannibalizing, conquering, claiming power and dominion over our fellow man to get ahead, instead of loving our fellow man, instead of nurturing our fellow man, instead of encouraging our fellow man, instead of building ourselves up with his covenant, because he's given us chance after chance after chance, right? The covenant with Noah, the covenant with Moses, and the final covenant, the new covenant that is no longer dead, written on stone, such that it perishes, such that it reveals only sin and wrongdoing and ultimately penance and punishment. No, now, and such that we follow it begrudgingly, because we're by nature rebellious, so we rebel against the law, but we follow it. The only reason we ever follow it is because we do it begrudgingly, because there is punishment should we not. But in the new law, the living law, by the living Elohim, he has written his law in our hearts, such that in taking the salvation of Yahusha, and in being saved and being redeemed, we have everlasting light. The Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, the set-apart spirit, fills our soul, guides us. We now have everlasting life, the law written on our heart, revealing everlasting love, everlasting forgiveness, everlasting joy, everlasting healing, and everlasting life, such that we are now filled with his light, filled with his love, filled with his healing. And not only does his light beam down on us, just absolutely warming us, comforting us, healing us, but it also explodes blossoms within us, and bursts, so much so that it bursts out from us in an infinite number of ways, such that others can see those beams of light. Others who are lost, who are hopeless, who are going through now what we went through before we were saved, can see that if a wretch like us, if a wretch like me can be saved, they can be saved. And so we live as that example. And so we always want to fortify our character, nurture ourselves with the word daily, feeding ourselves that nourishment, the way, the truth, and life, the words, the parables, the teachings of Yahusha, the commandments of Yahuwah. And in so doing, we're building our character. And so again, when it comes to gossip, when it comes to rumor-mongering, when it comes to backbiting, we do these things because it speaks to our evil nature, because we get these cheap thrills by talking about the crashing and burning of others. And what does that bring about? What does that bring about? What does all the slandering bring about? It brings about jealousy. It brings about confusion, chaos, brings about misunderstandings. It sows division and hatred. That's the fruit of that tree. For our cheap titillation, just like cheap highs, what does drugs and alcohol ultimately wreak? What are the fruits of that tree? Cheap highs in the moment, and then pain and suffering, decadence and depravity to follow. Nothing good comes from that. Nothing good. The fruits of a spoiled and rotten tree. And such is gossip, rumor-mongering, fear-mongering, slandering the reputations of others, such that you sow confusion, such that you sow mistrust, such that you sow distrust, and you wreck lives. You wreck lives. So for your cheap thrill in the moment, think a few steps down the road at what participating in this type of action. We do it all the time. Think about you multiplied by all of your friends, multiplied by all your acquaintances, multiplied by all their friends and acquaintances and family over and over and over. My mother used to say, don't be a yenta. My mother said, don't be a yenta. Don't be a busybody. And that's what being a gossip is. You're a busybody. You're inserting yourself into other people's lives. You're admonishing them for the same sins that you're creating, that you're undertaking. You're reveling in their tragedy and their destruction and their misery. And what is that? Again, it's a cheap thrill, just like a cheap high, which brings about nothing good. The fruit of a rotten, poisonous, spoiling tree. And so the way we crowd that out of our lives, again, subtraction through addition. We don't just remove it, we add something better in its place such that we crowd it out. And in this case, what we do is we speak with discernment. We speak judiciously. We speak with prudence. We speak of encouragement. We speak praise. These are in speaking these things, not out loud, not to ourselves, because when you gossip, you don't gossip to yourself. You gossip with your circle of friends. You gossip with your acquaintances. You gossip with your coworkers. You gossip online, on social media. You gossip in your sphere of influence. So instead of gossiping, backbiting, and slandering for cheap thrills and cheap pleasures, giving people little nicks, right? The small cuts, the death by 1,000 cuts until you bleed them dry, acting like a demon, because we're persuaded, easily influenced by demons, unless we wear the armor of Yahuwah. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But we crowd these things out and we steady our character, we strengthen our character, we buttress our character, we build our character by when we're with our friends or when we're in a conversation with someone, we don't talk ill of other people. We don't slander them. We don't rumor-monger on them. We don't speak from a place of jealousy or envy. Disguise is just chatter and babbling, because undercutting that gossip is really just jealousy and envy and hatred. We love seeing people fall from grace. We love seeing people fall from the mountaintop. We love seeing people rendered asunder because they reach too far. Because we're wrecked by jealousy and envy, so we love backbiting and rumor-mongering and gossip. Again, it's a cheap thrill. And so what we do instead is when we're speaking about other people, if we're going to speak about other people, then we do so judiciously with prudence. And we speak of praise. We praise them when we can. We praise them. We speak words of encouragement for them. We pray for them. We pray for them. We wish good tidings on them. This is how, when we practice that type of discussion, only when speaking of others, that's how we crowd out the temptation and the indulgences of backbiting and rumor-mongering and slander and gossip. We crowd it out. Like we crowd out the whining and the complaining and the negative talk, like we crowd out the dishonesty and deceit. We crowd it all out because we are strengthened on a powerful foundation, a glorious foundation. And that foundation is our heart that is filled with the love and the healing of Yahuwah, Yahusha. And we live the commandment. Love Yahuwah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love our fellow men as we love ourselves, right there. Just think about it right there. If we're nurturing ourselves with that character, we're able to nurture our fellow man. And if we're nurturing our fellow man, we certainly aren't gossiping about them. We certainly aren't backbiting. We certainly aren't rumoring them. We're certainly not talking. We're not engaging in negative talk. And a lot of that stuff also, when we get out of the realm of gossip, which is the conversations we have with others, the idle chatter and the babbling that we have with others, when we get into the lives of others, when we speak ill of others, we do a lot of talking to ourselves. And that's when we get into things like, and yeah, you can complain to others, but we also complain in ourselves. We also complain to ourselves. We also We also, in here, we whine, we moan, we complain, we talk negatively, we are distrustful. Here. And so again, we crowd that stuff out by speaking of ourselves and speaking to ourselves and monitoring our own internal dialogue with positive thought, positive words, positive language, with words of encouragement, with speaking from a place of integrity and credibility and character to ourselves. How can we do that unless we have that heart? Because again, as I said over the last few days, we align all things. We align the heart that is saved and filled with the glory of Yahuwah Yahusha, that is righteous in Yahusha. From there, the mind springs full of productive, wholesome concepts and ideas, and we monitor that. And should we have any negative thoughts, any negative ideas, any negative concepts, any evil that permeates, no problem. We knock it out. We crowd it out with the positive. Should we whine, moan, and complain? We knock it out. We talk to ourselves instead of complaining and whining. We are grateful. We are thankful. And when we speak negatively about ourselves to ourselves or about others to ourselves, we think words of praise. We think words of positivity, positive energy. And again, when we get with our small circle of friends and acquaintances and family, or we get online, we don't engage in rumor-mongering, backbiting, slandering. We don't seek to tear people to pieces. We build a character forged by a heart that is filled with the love and the light and the glory of Yahuwah Yahusha, because the Ruach, the set-apart spirit, the breath of Yahuwah lives within us now and guides us. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for me now to do these things that I speak to you of, because I've been walking in Yahuwah Yahusha for over 8 years now. But not only that, really only the past couple of years have I completely surrendered. And really just over the past year have I steeped myself in the gospel and the good news, in the word, the way, the truth, and the life, nourishing myself daily, nourishing myself, not just praying and being in that conversation with Yahuwah, which I've been for years now, but now nourishing the soul, nourishing the character, nourishing the heart with the word, with his life, with his parables, with his phrases, with his teachings, as well as those of Paul, the apostle. So much encouragement, so much fortifying knowledge, so much nurturing that you receive when you do that daily. And it builds that heart, it builds that soul, it builds that character. And then in loving Yahuwah Yahusha with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, in believing, in having all faith in Yahuwah Yahusha. And how could you not? You love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And you will go through this catharsis when you come to that place, that Damascene moment, that Damascus road like Paul came to, where you are struck because you are at the end of your rope. You are at that place where you finally had enough. You are at that place where you've sought all the answers. You've sought to climb the mountains. You've gone down every road. You've had every kind of high possible, and it's never enough. You find yourself never being satisfied, never being truly grateful, never being truly thankful, always wondering, always questioning. You get to a place in your life where you've had enough. As they say, as the addicts say, you've hit rock bottom. And this doesn't have to happen through addiction. This can happen just by living life in this illusion and seeking permanence from an illusion. It could happen by living this false reality, living in it such that you buy unto it, and that you allow yourself to be persuaded constantly and influenced by the evil ones who manipulate this illusion, such that you find yourself constantly in chaos, in frustration, in neurosis, in anxiety, lost, always searching, always wondering, never understanding what this life is all about. And how could you? You're imperfect, so how could you create perfection? You're imperfect. How could you understand an imperfect world? You're living in a mirage. How could you make that real? Because ultimately, you will see at some point in your life, it will come to you that none of this is real. This is all meaningless. This means it's only. And so you're wondering if none of this has any meaning, and this will happen to you. If all of this is a hallucination, if you start to get that crack in this false reality and start to get a peek at the zeros and ones, and you start wondering, what is it all? You are ultimately searching for meaning. Man's search for meaning. And you won't find it here. You won't find it here. You'll find it here in your heart. You'll find it here inside you, because that's where Yahuwah Yahusha lives. He has written that new covenant on your heart, on your soul. He lives inside you. And so he is right there for you, ever at the ready for you to reach out and claim your birthright. Simply by knocking, he will answer that door. Seek and you shall find. Ask and you shall receive, and you will be overwhelmed. It will be like a tsunami will wash over you. His light, his love, the epiphanies, the revelations will hit you over and over and over. And then if you nourish yourself daily in prayer with the good news and how grateful you are and confessing what you were and how you no longer want to walk that path and how you want to walk in the light with Yahuwah Yahusha, and he will flood you with his revelations, his epiphanies, and he will guide you when you surrender to him. He will fill you with the Ruach HaKodesh. He will save you when you ask for salvation. He will save you, will fill you with the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah. And that breath that spirit, that set-apart spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, will guide you. And as I said, the light that shines down on you, the light that bursts forth from within you so that others can see as you live as an example, such that they know that if you can be saved, they can be saved. But that light that blasts down, that shines down, also illuminates the path. And the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, keeps you strong and on that path. And that path is illuminated by Yahuwah Yahusha, such that you know that narrow path to the narrow gates of the kingdom to come, how to walk it, the road to travel, and you see it. It is so clear, crystal clear, that path to the kingdom to come, and you have so much that your cup runneth over, and you share the good news that you start to clear the way on that path and bring others along with you, because you're sharing the good news. Not because you're admonishing them, not because you're preaching to them, not because you're berating them that this is the way they should live. No, just by living the example, just by walking the path yourself and beaming with that encouragement and that light and that life, being truly alive for the first time and having that radiance bursting off of you, people are going to see it. They're going to know it. They're going to want it, because they're going to see that, and they know that they like you are searching for meaning. They're searching for hope. And when they see you alive, they see you alive for the first time, they see that absolute, incredible, powerful energy powered by Yahuwah bursting forth from you. They're going to realize that they want that too. And if you can be so full of his light, so encouraged, so inspired, then they know they can be too. And that's what we talk about by living as an example. But you're walking on that path and you're clearing the way. You're clearing the way. You're clearing the way, and you're bringing others along with you. But you're clearing the path, as John the Baptist said, straighten the crooked roads and make the path clear. Make the paths straight, for he is coming, and he is coming to establish that kingdom here on earth. He will reign. And all evil, all sin, all decadence, depravity, all of the evil ones, the corruptors, the misleaders, the evildoers, they will be crushed beneath his feet. And he will live amongst us once again. And there will be no more depravity, no more debasement, no more defilement, no more hatred, no more sorrow, no more evil, no more sin, no more illness, no more disease, no more murder, no more death. Only everlasting peace, everlasting joy, everlasting love, everlasting healing, and everlasting life. And where he will live, Yahuwah Yahusha will live amongst us once again. And we will be able to praise him, honor, glorify, worship, and love him with all of our heart, souls, mind, and strength in the most perfect of manners, in a manner that truly pleases him most, because we will be perfect once again, as we were before we were cast out of Eden. The promise fulfilled. If you fulfill the promise, if you receive Yahuwah Yahusha. And so let us build our characters. Let us walk that path. Let us clear that path. Let us walk true and strong and steadfast, ceaseless and relentless. Because as we move along this path, filled with his light, filled with his love, filled with his healing, as we beam and as the beams of his energy burst forth from us, the world sees it. The world cannot stop it. And in all faith, we wear the armor of Yahuwah, such that we are impervious to the slings and the arrows of the evil ones of this world. We wear the helmet of salvation, and we wield the Ruach HaKodesh, the breath of Yahuwah, the set-apart spirit, as a sword, dissolving, obliterating all evil energy, all negative energy, all demonic obstacles that get in our way on this path, they evaporate. And so as we move in an unconquerable manner, unassailable, undefeatable, undeniable, we walk with purpose and true meaning, powered by Yahuwah Yahusha, like a freight train to kingdom come.